Hey everyone, Emily Jackson here from Great Family Adventure, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of our favorite things to do as a family while visiting the Outaouais and Laurentian regions here in Quebec, Canada. Number 1 is Park Omega. Park Omega is just a tremendous park filled with animals. So for the kids, they really enjoy generally going to zoos or different parks to see what different wildlife they can observe and learn about. But here, it's a little different. It's a very large, open, so a lot of acres, a kind of open safari-style park that you drive through. So for the kids, this is a first for them, and it's very interactive. They're very engaged. The animals are coming straight up to the car. Mostly deer, elk, caribou, but they're huge. They're very large. They're very surprising just how engaged and close you get with these animals. You're not allowed to leave the vehicle, but you wouldn't want to either because there's just so many. We saw warthogs, we saw all sorts of different animals really up close and personal. And so for me as a parent, and then also for the kids, it just kept everyone on their toes and really excited from start to finish.
Oh my goodness, you guys are so cute.
Another bonus with Park Omega is they have really good food there. They have a restaurant set up there, and they also have some really fun lodging. So for one of the evenings, we actually stayed in something called the Bear and Wolf Suite or Lodge, and it's this like chalet style house where you have your own private viewing and get to see wolves and bears from your bedroom. Basically, you open up the door, sit out on the balcony, and watch wildlife. So that was really cool. Another lodging option that they had there was actually the Wee Tent. So that was a teepee style lodging that you have to trek out to go to. And for us, again, it was just a really fun interactive experience because we had to put all of our equipment into a wagon to get it to the teepee. And then on top of that, we had to make fires to stay warm, and there was deer in the morning and the afternoon. So it's just a really fun, unique experience. Number 2 for me is going to be just hiking and exploring parks in general. So for us, we visited a few different parks while we were here. There's actually a bunch of different parks in the area. For me, I would say Mont Tremblant was probably the favorite park out of all of them. Most likely just the amount of views with water. So my family really loves water, and just everywhere we looked, it was just beautiful, pristine looking lakes. The forest felt very old, and remember the kids and I were walking through it. Everyone just very peaceful. It was really fun to be like hiking, but at the same time, there was just an appreciation for the old trees, and, you know, that fall smell, you know, the foliage. It was very down to earth. We felt like we were forest bathing. You know, it was just one of those experiences where all of us were just like, you know, we're at peace here, we're engaged. God's honest truth, it was just so beautiful. While hiking, we did get to see some waterfalls, we got to see creeks, we got to see streams, we got to see, the kids learned about different trees, the different types of birch. I didn't realize that there's yellow birch and white birch, and the type that you ride on back in the day was white birch, not yellow. So when we get ourselves into these different experiences, it's really cool when we learn things as a family, particularly when we're all learning together. We went with a guided tour for one of the hikes. A company called Detour took us on one of our hikes, and I have never been on a guided hike before, and that was something I would highly recommend again because I did learn about the Canadian Shield, which is, you know, the rock formations here and what that means, and the shapes of the mountain, what caused it, you know, like the age of some of the things we were looking at, and all of that information would have been, you know, probably not carried forward from Nick and I to our children on this trip, but also for me to learn as well about where we're at and what makes it so unique. Number 3 for visiting this area and our family is probably, I'm not sure for me as much as my children, but they had the best time at Choco Motive, and that was in Montebello. The reason why it's top 5 is because it was really engaging for the kids, and again, we learned a lot. So I guess chocolate, and I haven't really thought about it, can be a lot like wine tasting and pairing. There's palettes to it. You know, there's a science to it. And when we visited Chocomotive, not only were we educated on like what to look for when you're eating chocolate and the breakdown of chocolate, but my kids got a hand-on experience of actually making chocolate while they were there. They got to use the mold, they got to do chocolate dip marshmallows. It was just really fun and engaged. So for me, Chocomotive is definitely a top 5. Number 4 is apple picking. So I love orchards. I love fruit trees. I have a deep appreciation for them. I always have. I don't think I've ever gone to an apple orchard before, so it might be a first for me. And I have apple trees back at home, but it's not like this at all. I have like 2. They give me like 4 apples. These trees were loaded from top to bottom with beautiful fruit. Our family spent the day picking Macintosh apples, and it was just a really unique experience. Not only did the kids have a really good time, you know, inspecting their apples, choosing which ones they were gonna pick, and just walking through the orchard. There was a corn maze, there was some animals. We are here in the apple orchard. Parker's already enjoying an apple. How's your apple, Parker? Delicious. The food on this trip has been tremendous, but this picnic, you pay, you get a basket, and it is literally filled to the top with delicious food. We had bread, salmon, salads, and then a ton of different items that were made from the apples. So there was apple butter, apple jelly, there is fresh sparkling apple juice. There was so many different things that they incorporated the apples into the meal. And so it was fun to not only show the kids that like, here's the apples in their rawest form, you know, on the tree, and then here are all these amazing things that we can make with it. So we had a lot of fun picking way too many apples. Because we're flying, we can't take a lot of them home. So last night we had our fair share of apple pie and apple crumble. So Mom was busy in the kitchen, and just having that experience of having the kids pick the apples and then making a ton of good food with it, eating a ton of good food with it, while at the picnic, you know, at the orchard itself was just something that was really nice for all of us. It was mellow, wasn't too active, you know, we got to relax. It was a great way to spend our Sunday morning.
Hey Tech, what do you think about this apple picking?
It was really fun.
Yeah?
Number 5 is gonna be the Centier de Sains. I'm not sure I said that right, but I'm close, I think. But basically what it is this old fish hatchery, and it's in the Laurentians region, and they took this old fish hatchery or farm that used to be a trout farm back in the day, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. You know, it was busy in the 1930s, old buildings, beautiful grounds, and they recognized that there was these tall towers in Europe, like overlooks, that allowed you to really see the area. So they built this tremendous, long, very accessible boardwalk that goes through the trees. It feels like you're on the tree tops, and then it goes up a very large tower. I don't even remember how tall it is. It's 100+ feet. You know, you're way up there. And we went there for sunset, and that was really special because it was the first day of fall. The sunset was gorgeous, you know, big ball of fire, you know, just bright red with the fall foliage, you know, perfect temperature. I really couldn't ask for a better experience there. But just the fact that it's so accessible, so if you have someone in a wheelchair, if you have elderly, if you have young kids, it's just something that is not hard, it doesn't take too long, and the view is breathtaking. So I highly recommend the Centier de Sains because they've taken a beautiful area and really turned it into something that's accessible for everyone and gives you a great view of the whole region. Bonus activities. I know I said I was only going to do 5, but this area had so many things to offer. For me, everyone always knows that when my family visits someplace, it is water sports through and through. We did 2 on this trip. We went canoeing and stand-up paddleboarding. Both were amazing. The canoeing was really nice because we could just rent a canoe right at the Parcs de Plaisance and go out. And so that was nice because it was very easy, convenient, accessible. Not that I promote convenience, but it just made that canoeing experience not be too much of a mission. So we actually did it with some other activities in the same day, and it was really easy to just get out. So I really appreciated that because my family does love our time on the water. So canoeing's way up there. The stand-up paddleboarding for us was a fun kind of newer family experience because Nick and I have spent a lot of time on stand-up paddle boards, but Tucker, our son, has not spent a lot of time paddling his own board. So for us to go out on an adventure, that was really fun because we got to watch him kind of push himself. He was a little wobbly every once in a while, but he gained a lot of confidence and he got really good at it by the end. And the views, the water temperature, the air temperature was just perfect. So by the time we wrapped up our stand-up paddleboarding adventure, we all went for a little swim and it was very refreshing. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
Chuck, what do you think about stand-up paddleboarding for your first time?
My favorite part is bumper boat.
Bumper boats!
I would definitely say this area, both the Outaouais and Laurentian regions, are big biking regions, which is why it's going to be one of the top 5 things to do here as a family. The biggest part is Parker just really got into biking recently. She's just started. This is the first trip where she actually got to take her own bike and go out on an adventure. So she can bike, but as far as like, you know, us trying to get to a destination, this was a first for us. So as a parent, watching her find that independence and that freedom on her own bike and getting that physical activity was just, you know, something I'll remember always, just because I was so proud. But at the same time, I really enjoy how much ground we can cover when we're out biking. So when we're out biking versus a car and we're exploring, I feel like we get to see a lot more. It slows everything down. The kids seem very much in tune with their surroundings. And so for me, having the opportunity to go biking, I think one of the main places that we biked while we were here was Parc de Plaisance, and it has a very nice, not too long path that ended with a boardwalk through a marsh, and it was just very, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? You know, the kids were never asking, are we there yet? It was very engaging the whole time. So they're beautiful old trees. We got to see some water, you know, just there's a ton of tree coverage over top, so it felt like we were going through tunnels. And then to arrive at the marsh and watch the herons, look for turtles. It was just busy, and busy in a really good way. It was very active. The kids were having fun from start to finish. So biking for me in this area is definitely a top 5. Not to mention when we arrived to Laurentians, there's actually a pump track basically overlooking the water, just right there in downtown. Good food, cafe, and some more biking for us that's really accessible. So they make biking easy to access here in this region, and we really appreciate it because it makes it easier to take the whole family. I would say in general, if you're looking to do any family activities, one thing that's a common thread, a golden thread throughout our entire experience here is that the food has been amazing. There's really good food in this area. The lodging, there's so many different types of unique stays. I mean, we stayed at luxurious Fairmont Montebello for a night with a big pool and gorgeous gardens and yacht clubs. And then we went from that to sleeping in a teepee, you know, to the Baron Lodge Suite, to cabins. So I would say in general, the lodging and the housing in this area, there's so many different styles and options that it's just great. Like depending on what you're in the mood for, what your price point is, there's a lot of options out there. And maybe switch it up like we did and go from one to the next. The access to outdoor activities is very high. So this area is surrounded everywhere we look. Beautiful woods and forests with paths, trails, biking, hiking, you name it. In the winter, it's snowshoeing. So we're gonna have to come back and check that out. As well as having so much access to all of it, I would have to say that the quality of the parks is really high. It wasn't too busy. It was quiet, clean. There's a lot to see, and people seem very respectful of nature here. So when you're out, you're not like overwhelmed with the whole touristy vibe of people pushing and shoving and not appreciating where they're at. And so I really appreciate that here in this region. So yeah, access to a ton of outdoor activity, really good food, and great lodging options. So definitely highly recommend someone coming and visiting the Outaouais and Laurentian regions here in Quebec because it is epic.